Hey guys, what is going on? My name is Darth Cinema, and guys, we have finally made it. Welcome to my review of RWBY Volume 4, Episode 12, No Safe Haven. So, immediately when this episode starts, guys, I want to just get this out of the way. Not only do I consider No Safe Haven to be one of the best episodes of RWBY proper, one of the best finales, of RWBY that I've seen. I firmly put down that this absolutely is one of my top three favorite finales, period, for any anime or anime show I've seen. Not only because it managed to weave together these emotional stories, this build up, quite well, I would figure. It kind of cemented my theory that Team Ruby was going to get together at some point, though that's probably going to be in Volume 5. We're at least starting to see them get on their way. But we'll talk about that as we're going through this. I know I said I was going to do a video about how I felt about the season as a whole, but I might as well slip that in right now before we get to the episode proper. So my thoughts on RWBY Volume 4, there's been a lot of criticism and a lot of back and forth going throughout forums, throughout Facebook, throughout Twitter, on the thoughts of Volume 4 as a whole. And now quite a few people have been coming up and saying that it felt way too slow. And I'll be kind of honest, I don't see that at all with this season. While it's true that, it is slower compared to the rapid pace of volumes 1, 2, and especially volume 3, I think it's because of volume 3 that we needed a break and we needed a time, we needed a period where we can pull back and relax. I don't believe that, in this grand scheme of the story that Monty wanted to tell, that they wanted to rush through it fast. This was clearly a story that he wanted to invest time into. And by rushing at the pace of Volume 3, if we had every volume up till the end of the show running at the pace Volume 3 did, we would all be way too exhausted to get invested. Volume 4, at least, well, this is at least for me. Volume 4, I felt, was a nice breath of fresh air. Tone-wise, it was much darker. It felt like there was something at stake here. Because after the events of Volume 3, of course, with the death of Penny, with the death of Pyrrha, it felt like something could be lost. That we had characters that were no longer invincible, which was a very common critique of Volume 2's finale. And that has not changed here. I don't think that that tone has really diminished. While it is true there were no deaths in the finale of Volume 4, I can still look at this and think that, man, how close did they come to dying? That there's actual tension especially in this episode, and if they keep this tense atmosphere going forward with all the stories, with all the side stories, with Weiss and Blake and Yang, and especially Ruby's and everyone else's, we're gonna find the sequential volumes to be much, much more enjoyable. There are people saying that, while it was good, it really wasn't great. You can only really remember one or two fights. Really, the one with Tyrion and Crow was the one that stood out to a lot of people just as the biggest fight of the season. Personally, I think this one with the Nikulavi is a lot more superior to that one because it's one thing seeing like two experienced fighters go at it, but we're seeing our heroes overcoming the odds in this case and fighting a Grim that they have never encountered before. So that was quite interesting to see that. And I don't think the fights are really what matters when for RWBY. Contrary to what some people think, I really think that while the fights are what got it noticed to begin with, as well as the animation style, because Monty did fantastic work with the animation style. The story is what really matters, and I stay true to that. I stand by that for anything, whether it's a movie, it's a book, a manga, or show, web show, TV show. It doesn't matter. You need to hook us in with a good story, and you have to keep us invested. And this kept me hooked throughout the entire volume. I was really excited to see where they were going to go every single time. And I tuned in every single week to see what was going to happen. Often getting disappointed when it was a World of Remnant rather than an actual episode. But that's my thoughts on the actual season. Let's get into the episode proper called No Safe Haven. So the episode starts off as you would expect. It starts off with Team Ranger fighting the Nakulavi. Instantly, we see that Ren is far more aggressive than we have ever seen him, bordering on unhinged. We see that in his eyes, we see that in his facial expressions. Again, I know I sound like a broken record, pointing to the awesome animation style for the new animation for this season has been fantastic for expressions. I absolutely love it. Even when there's no dialogue being spoken, you know what these characters are feeling, what they're thinking by looking in their eyes. And that is amazing. And it's really a testament to how far Rooster Teeth animation has come in the years they've been doing this show. Because I actually just rewatched volumes like 1 through 3, and you can see it's like night and day how far they've improved. And nothing is more plain than in this finale. So, like I said, they start fighting the Nakulavi. The Nakulavi fight helps further quite a few storylines. We see Jean start to take a more active role in, being a leader of the team. As such, we get to see probably one of my favorite moments of the episode. We get to see a brand new weapon configuration for Jean, which is essentially he sheathes the sword in the shield and pull and draws the sword, and it essentially the sword doubles in length and it spawns like extra blades around the edges, essentially turning what was very like a small like hand and a half sword into like this bastard sword type configuration, and I really really love it. I hope beyond hope that Jean has more configurations up his sleeve or more like modifications to the armor and the weapons, because I really think that could be a very, very cool thing to look forward to into the future. But like I said, the people who benefit the most from this fight in terms of actual storyline is Ren and Nora, and you can definitely see the growth, at least between them. And like I said, like, there's the theory going around about the Team Juniper death theory, where all the members of Team Juniper will die by the end of the series. I did feel like one of them, Ren or Nora, was going to die in the episode. And it kept me like tense throughout the entire fight for a good 15 minutes. I was on the edge of my seat, worried, sick that they were going to die. One of them was going to die. I don't think both of them would die. I think that would be rushing it. If this theory does hold water, that was going to be rushed. However, I absolutely was just so happy that neither of them died. Yes, there are no, like I said, no deaths in this volume, but I don't think that is to the detriment of the season. Anyway, we do get a cute moment when the Nakulavi pins Ren to the wall. It is about to stab him with the claw when Nora ends up taking the hit. Her hammer takes the hit, and she's pinned to the wall, dangling by her hammer above Ren. And she looks at him and then crosses her legs and kind of lifts her legs up and goes, "Stop looking." And Ren kind of covers his eyes. And it was a cute moment. Did it break the tension? A little bit, but I thought it was cute. Especially since it came after a moment where it cut to black and I thought that they had died. So, yeah, well, screw you, Rooster Teeth, but I also love you, Rooster Teeth. So, yeah. Anyway, the fight goes on, like I said, for a good 15 minutes, but the biggest drawing point of this fight is Ren and Nora kind of coming to grips with how this Grim the Nakulavi impacted their life, and that they can't act out of rash emotion, because you see, Nora running to Ren and ducking under the house, which is the same house that they hid in as children when the Nakulavi attacked Kuroyuri before. And Ren's about to go help Ruby and Jean, but Nora holds him back, and he's like kind of yelling at her, like, "Stop it, let me go." And she slaps Ren right across the face and essentially says, "No, after everything we've been through, I do not want to lose you, not like this. It cannot end this way. And through Ren's eyes, we see the scared little girl he met all those years ago has turned into the woman he's talking to right now. And it's a really interesting way of just seeing how far they've come, even though we haven't seen a lot of what happened between Kuro Yuri and their first day at Beacon. You can feel just how much these two have been through together as friends and their resolve to make it through this alive. So this provides the essentially second wind that Team Ranger needed to defeat the Nikulavi. And it's actually quite interesting because it's a great step in Ren's character specifically, because they devised the plan where Ren is going to be the one that takes out the Nikulavi, while Jean and Ruby, my apologies, end up pinning the arms with their weapons, and Nora ends up taking out the horse, and Ren is able to deliver the finishing blows, or blows in this case, with the dagger his father gave him, which he found once again. So that was actually pretty cool. We get to see him, like, as he's slicing off each individual arm, he's like, for my mother, for my father, for all those who had died, and finally he goes, and also for me, and slashes the head right off the Nikulavi, killing it. This was such a powerful moment. I was so worried. I was actually kind of paranoid that the Nikulavi was gonna kill Ren in this moment, but I was very happy that he didn't. We get a nice little thing where Ruby runs to Uncle Crow's aid, and we see that he congratulates her. He's like, "Well done, kiddo." And we hear ships approaching, and see that they're actually from Mistral, or from Mistral, and it's pretty cool to see essentially how the different countries, how their vehicles look in comparison to, say, something like Beacons. Like, Beacon felt kind of futuristic, like it was kind of a mix of the future and fantasy realms. When you look at these ships in particular, I get a very oriental feeling off of this, and you can definitely tell that when we get to see what looks like Haven Academy proper, we get to see that. And they're in Haven at this point when the ships end up bringing him there. It was actually quite a coincidence that they found him. The patrols found them because they saw the smoke and no one comes around there, so they realized something was wrong. And they were able to bring Team Ranger and Uncle Crow into back to Haven. So now we have finally, out over the course of an entire volume, Team Ranger has finally made it to their destination. It looks like Uncle Crow has made a full recovery from the poison. And while RWBY is writing this letter to Yang, essentially kind of restating the resolve of why they're fighting, we get neat little cuts to the rest of Team RWBY and what they're doing. And we see Weiss, who is paying for passage to stow away on this, what looks like a freighter. And the pilot's like, okay, we'll get you this far, but if we get caught, you're on your own. You know that, right? And she nods her head, and they take off. So hopefully this means Weiss is now out of the grasp of her father, but knowing Jacques, who will probably do everything in his power to get her back. We also cut back to Menagerie, where Blake is opening a chest at her father's desk and sees the current flag of the White Fang, and you can see just the look of disdain and disgust in her eyes. We then cut to Yang, who's actually on a ship, the same ship that Blake and Sun were on. So this is going to be very interesting. It was neat how it kind of all came circling back and bringing characters that we've seen from before and tying them into the finale in some pretty, admittedly, pretty interesting ways. And I will say, I'm a sucker for this. The speech RWBY made me tear up. I really want to find, like, this speech. It's really, really well done, and we can see that essentially everything's turning out okay, but it's more of a bittersweet ending because as much as we love seeing Team RWBY getting back together, we do know that just because they managed to escape danger does not mean that danger won't come looking for them. And I'll elaborate on that more as we get to it. So we end up seeing everyone kind of get to their place. Yang is firmly going to Mistral. We have Blake firmly entrenched in her belief to take back the White Fang from Adam Taurus and the rest of the more radical uh, versions of the more radical faction of the White Fang. And Weiss is clearly trying to get back to the team and meet back up with them, at least trying to make a difference again. But the more sobering aspect of this finale is at the end, where we get to see Professor Lionheart. We don't see him specifically, but we do get to see his office in Haven, where we see a tea set on the table, and we see a very familiar figure drinking tea with Professor Lionheart, and that is Watts. And he comments on how Salem said he was very hospitable. This is very, very concerning, but it also is a pretty neat link to show how some of the professors are based off of characters from The Wizard of Oz. Obviously, you have the wizard being Professor Ozpin. You have Glinda. Nothing new to say there. You have, and what a lot of people are theorizing is that Professor Lionheart is based off the Cowardly Lion, and that he is in some ways a coward. Hopefully, we get to see that brought to fruition, but we won't know that until we see it. So that's more on that when we get to it in Volume 5, hopefully. And so a lot of people are theorizing what this is going to mean going forward for RWBY Volume 5. So a little theory crafting here before I end the video on where do I think this is going to go for Volume 5. Because this neat thing I really want to do for when we get there is take a look at my predictions from the finale and see, did any of those hold weight here? So, a couple of predictions. First of all, we are going to see the team reunite, hopefully sometime early in the season. That I don't doubt. Second, we are going to see more appearances, hopefully, by Winter, because I do believe we learned Winter is stationed here because that's how Ironwood knew that a play was being made in Mistral near Haven Academy, because Winter had given him that information. Next, we really need Raven to take a bigger part in this story. I get it; she's a mysterious character. However, I feel that more needs to be done with her character because I kind of feel like with everything that's happening, she can't be just left out to dry, unlike the other side characters. We can give, I was pretty certain she would appear near the end of this season because I doubted that Raven would be so cold-hearted to let her brother die, but it appears that whatever path she's on right now, family doesn't matter to her that much. But we'll find out when we get to the next season. And obviously, also another thing that I neglected to mention during this review is that we got to see that Cinder is now fully capable of mastering her maiden powers, at least to the extent that we've seen, that she is not going to hold back anymore, as Emerald conjures up a illusion of Ruby, who is terrified and pretty much on her knees in front of Cinder, and she just blasts the illusion with fire, and Salem can only smile. So that's pretty much my last one. I think we are going to see the first of hopefully a few confrontations between Ruby and Cinder, because I feel that that's going to be inevitable the way that they're setting that up. Though an interesting question I want to leave you guys on, and I'm going to do a couple more topics videos as we go along, but I want to know your thoughts right now. First, do you think that when Cinder is taken down, who do you think should be the one to take her down? Should it be Ruby, or should it be Jean? It's a very interesting question because as much as Pyrrha was Ruby's friend, I've heard many people say that it would be more appropriate for Jean to be the one who defeats Cinder. Now, do I think it's going to happen? No, I think Ruby's going to be the one to do it, but when you think about how Team Juniper factors into this entire show, they're now firmly entrenched in this plot to help beat Salem and pretty much restore order. And the fight with the Nikulavi proved that they are capable of working together and being a fantastic team. I really hope that when Team RWBY reforms again, that we don't just see the Juniper just kind of left by the wayside. Last thing I really want to see, I want to see more variety with these huntsmen. And what I mean by that is not just the ones in the schools, because that's my biggest criticism on this. I feel that outside of the schools, we don't see many huntsmen and huntresses. And if we have schools training them, we should see them at least every once in a while. I would love to see different huntsmen from different points of the globe. I'd love to see one from the mountains. I'd love to see some that live in the desert. I'd love just to see a variety of huntsmen, even some that maybe weren't trained at the academy. Maybe some who just had to learn pretty much up, learn how to fight to survive. Let me know what you guys think about that. So leave your thoughts in the comments below. Leave a like on the video if you enjoyed, and comment, subscribe for more content. I am going to be moving on to a next anime show. Be very watchful of the feed because I will be doing a video very soon within the next week to announce what show I will be reviewing first. And it is a very special request that was done to me from my brother, who we haven't spoken in a while, but it's really nice to be able to talk with him again. And he asked me to review this show for him, and I'd be more than happy to do it. So stay tuned for that announcement coming within the next week. And my name is Darth Cinema, and thank you guys so much for supporting me throughout this season, for all these reviews. This is kind of the first series that I've been doing, like, pretty much dedicated one video a week, and I really want to keep this trend going well into 2017, because there's one thing I really want to prove is that I want to give you guys good content. I want to try my best. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I'm also considering bringing back some of the voice acting bits that I've been doing before. I do know that my Laughing Jack creepypasta one has been getting a little bit more traction now, and people really want me to bring that back. I'm not sure, but let me know. So, like I said, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys in my next video, and I will see you this fall for RWBY Volume 5. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.